Now, Russia's war on Ukraine has prompted fear amongst its other neighbours that they could be next. Many are boosting their defence capabilities in case of a possible Russian attack, including Latvia, which shares a border with Russia. It has seen a surge in citizens joining the National Guard to get military training. And even those in civilian jobs are preparing for a worst-case scenario that Latvians say no longer seems impossible. Our correspondent Teri Schultz visited the country as it held annual nationwide military and civilian exercises.
Maria Linarte's life plans didn't include taking up arms.
I wouldn't call myself like super patriotic.
Until 2022, the only drills the popular Latvian actress was practicing were her lines. Then Russia launched war on Ukraine, and suddenly Linarte felt compelled to seek a new role, soldier.
It was super scary in the beginning. I had to ask these big questions for myself, but I realized the thing that is interesting for me and that I want to do, I'm a big believer in democracy, and I want to fight for that.
Linarte is among the thousands of Latvians whose response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine was to become part of the National Guard. The number of volunteers increased by a quarter. There's even a waiting list.
Bakers, teachers, professors, doctors, everyone is willing to see what they can bring to the defense of themselves as a nation itself.
Colonel Kaspars Pudons says the significance of the NAMES exercise is that it involves many sectors in realistic crisis simulations.
We are training here in cities, in capital city, together with police, border guards, municipal police, with our rescue services and medical services. So all together, so we know whom to call in times of crisis and how we would react to different scenarios altogether.
For example, emergency medical services personnel take part in tabletop war game exercises.
It's a new communication channel and terms. It's very hard for us and very good teamwork with militaries.
Former Riga Mayor Martin Stakis helped integrate municipal leaders and the military in the readiness exercises. He says the necessity of that became clear after Russia's first invasion of Ukraine in 2014.
They do understand that we have to show also to our eastern neighbor that we will not be the victims. The most important message for the leaders, for the mayors, was that you rely on the army, and that's good. But it could be the situation that army is out of the city. So what will be the city responsibility? So what you were going to do?
Answers to those questions are what authorities seek out each year with the NAMES exercise, incorporating lessons learned from watching what Russia is doing now in Ukraine, fueled also by their determination to never again experience the occupation they suffered after World War II. Maria Linarte wants to raise societal awareness by combining her two identities, writing and directing a play about military life.
And our Brussels correspondent Teri Schultz, who filed that report, joins us now from Brussels. Teri, is there a real fear among Latvians that Russia will not stop at Ukraine?
There certainly is a fear, Gerhard, that if Russia isn't stopped in Ukraine, it would move on to the Baltic states. That's always been their fear. And I think the stories that we've seen coming out today from Spain, from the United States about, fatigue in funding for Ukraine makes these fears even stronger. Latvia is a country that lived under Russian occupation for 50 years. And while you can reassure them that they're a member of NATO now, they're a member of the European Union now, there is still that sort of genetic fear that, you cannot be sure that it's not going to happen again.
Now, a quarter of Latvia's population are ethnic Russians. How does that factor into public opinion about the war?
I looked up some polls on this because I also was curious about that. And those are some worrying statistics because it shows that among the ethnic Russian population of Latvia, which you mentioned is a quarter of the population, only 27% of those people support Ukraine. So that's an awful lot of Putin supporters there living inside Latvia, a NATO state, a European Union state. And that's something that the government does have to worry about. At the same time, you saw the former Riga mayor there, Martin Stakis, during his period in office, office, he put up a Ukrainian flag on every public building. And he said there was some outcry, particularly among the Russian-speaking population. And he said, get used to it. You're living in Latvia, and we support Ukraine. So the ethnic Russian population doesn't have any choice if they want to live in this country. Their government is going to continue supporting Kyiv.
Now, earlier this year, Latvia also brought back conscription for young men. They'll now have to do military or civil service. How much of a difference will that make?
I think it makes a huge difference in terms of the number of people who are trained just in case. And again, they have these huge numbers of people volunteering to go into the military as reserves in the National Guard. But this will make sure that a huge proportion of the population now would be ready to take up arms. Again, we should emphasize that nobody thinks Russia is going to come invade a NATO state anytime soon. But Latvia is the last of the 3 Baltic states to reintroduce conscription. Estonia did it right after re-independence in 1991. Lithuania did it after Russia's first invasion of Ukraine in 2015. So it is sort of like it was expected that Latvia may do that sooner or later. And Finland, the remaining border state up there, never did away with conscription. Finland's males have always had to serve in the military. So this isn't really surprising along those frontline states.
So do you think Latvia would be ready in case of a Russian attack?
Latvia definitely would be ready, and in fact, this exercise that I visited was really remarkable in that every person in Latvia, not just the military, stands ready. You've got the emergency prepared services, you've had the schools discuss this. They have really gone into every sector of society. They call it comprehensive defense, and they're making sure that everyone would know what to expect, even though we must say that this is not something that's expected.
Teri Schultz then in Brussels. Thank you very much, Teri.